CloudNow has recently announced the sixth annual Top 10 Women in Cloud Innovation Awards for 2017 for Tech Republic and ZDNet. My name is Dan Patterson, and we're pleased today to speak with Susan Wu. She is a co-founder of CloudNow and senior product manager at VMware, and Jocelyn DeGrant Graham, also a co-founder of CloudNow. Thank you very much for joining us. I wonder if we could first talk a little bit about what CloudNow is and how you went about not just choosing this list, but also the technologies and finding leaders in particular technologies.
I can start with that, Dan. First, thanks so much for having us on your program today. It's really a delight to be able to speak with you. So CloudNow is a nonprofit 501c3. We started with a very simple mission, and that was to promote women in technology, specifically cloud and converging technologies. And along the way, we've had some great support from various corporate sponsors. Our philanthropy is a STEM scholarship for women who are on what we consider to be the fast track for their careers. And we have some wonderful academic partners. And CloudNow's flagship is the Top 10 Women in Cloud, which we've been doing since the inception of our organization. So we select 10 really what we think of as really phenomenal women that are pushing the industry forward. And these women, oftentimes, they will be founders or co-founders, but we also like to highlight individual contributors as well, so that we have a really full picture of the women we feel like are making the most contributions. And I'll turn it over to Susan for a little bit more detail, since she's so critical in that process.
So we have found over the years that women were actively involved with implementation of cloud projects. And we have found that they have not had a voice in speaking about their accomplishments. And so having a venue and a communication platform and a network like Cloud Network of Women, CloudNow, makes it very compelling to be able to share their work. And my experience in the open source, sharing is how you grow knowledge. Sharing is how you improve your own work. And sharing, when you share, your work is available for peer review. You actually do your best work. So we have found that by advocating and fostering and encouraging women to share their work through our communications channel, we've encouraged a lot of women to do talks. And this has been really beneficial by engaging women that are actively involved with cloud implementation projects. Then what we have found over the years is cloud became the enabler of other technologies. And so we found that women were implementing data science projects, serverless projects, and I can't even think of everything that the cloud, industrial IoT projects, all on the cloud platform. And that's why if you kind of look at the awards over the years, we have now started expanding the scope of the awards to include women that are implementing the bleeding edge technologies within their end user organization and actually delivering real world value.
So what are some of the qualities that helped somebody gain notoriety within the technology industry and make it onto your list?
We actually have several criteria. It's a judging committee that we have. You can check on our website with the board of advisors. But we actually evaluate the work in terms of metrics that they deliver for the organization within a very tight time frame, between 12 month time frame. And the metrics are actually in terms of organizational impact, and because a lot of technology projects actually are driving change. And so sometimes there are hard metrics that they can measure, and there are also soft metrics that they can actually demonstrate. And all the combination of the two actually makes these projects stand out. And then what we also found that the women were making a social impact within either in the industry or within an organizational society at large. That was another indication that we evaluated in terms of putting together and recognizing the women that actually make the top 10 list. And then we also evaluate the size of their organization and the impact that they have within their organization or within the industry. So you can see we actually apply, a set of pretty stringent measurements to come up with, to recognize the women that actually make the top 10 list every year. We do get a lot of nominations from partners, from sponsors, from the end user organizations that we work with, and from the open source communities that we work with.
How, I don't know if you have metrics behind this, but what is the percentage of representation that women have in the tech industry now? And what impact does a list like this have on boosting the amount of women, not just in technology, but in all STEM fields?
So CloudNow did a research study where we surveyed about 1,000 women in technology. And we came back with some results, and I think we may have published the results, and we can share. And I've also done talks about the research study. In terms of the open source communities, both the Linux community and the OpenStack community, they both measured the amount of women contributing to the Linux kernel and also the number of women contributing into OpenStack. And so we'd be happy to share those results. Probably we don't have that right at the top of my hands right now because I didn't think we were going into this area. But both of the, and I would say most of the open source communities are very concerned and want to encourage new contributions and women contributions into the code base and reviewer. And so one of the ideas, and I have put forth, is that you actually do not always have to be a coder to contribute to open source, because there are many, many roles within open source that are around driving the business and the economics of open source software. So for myself, I have not delivered one single line of commercial code, but I have managed many, many engineering projects in my work in the past at Oracle, Citrix, and Docker. But what it means is there are many ways to contribute, and not just what you think, and not just code review, not just code contribution. There are many ways to contribute in terms of documentation. There are ways to contribute by evangelizing the technology. You may have gone to many conferences, and this is the topic that's very germane, where many open source projects fail to gain traction. And then they lose traction and they get abandoned. And that sometimes is not the technology. The core technology is really, really stellar, but lack of adoption, lack of support, and possibly lack of endorsement is what caused some of the open source projects to languish. And I think some of the reasons for that is lack of the business and product management contributions into those projects.
That's so important to raise, because all of us in technology know that the tech business is not just coding or delivering lines of code. It is business, and business requires all types of highly competent functions. I hate even asking this question because it seems like a ridiculous question to ask, but the tech industry is experiencing this kind of moment now where it's questioning things that are scientifically kind of silly to even worry about. But what are some of the qualities and what is the importance of having experienced, talented management in every facet of your company? Why does this matter so much, not just to business at large, but to tech in particular right now?
I'm going to jump, Susan, if I can jump in and answer that question. So through the research that we've done, and it's one of the things that we uncovered was that it's very important, especially for women, to see in the organization other women being able to accelerate and being able to achieve. This does not have to be a formal mentorship program. It's simply being able to see a role model in the executive office, or a manager who really is you're able to emulate. And we found that's really one of the most important ways for women to be able to feel like there's a cultural fit, understand that there's a growth trajectory. So I would actually start by saying, the cultures that the women can really accelerate in, they have to be able to be inclusive, to be able to, be an environment where it's already set up so that people feel like they belong. And so I think that is actually one of the key things that's going to start making impact for the tech field.
Are there particular lessons on this list, and we will include the list in the story that accompanies this video, but there's great leaders up and down this list, but are there particular lessons that other business leaders can learn from looking at this list, or at least investigate by saying, that person did something really, really well that's worth following up on?
Yeah, I think the lesson learned is all the women that are recognized in this list and in past years, they have their work is stellar on their own merit. But what you find in the commonality of the women is that they take on the responsibility of sharing and mentoring others. So if you look at just using Brigitte as an example from Microsoft, and previously she was at Drama Fever, she actually runs the DevOps community, DevOps Days, where she actively promotes speakers and coaches people to share their work through the DevOps Days. She has hands-on experience as a DevOps person, and then moved over to the vendor side to Cloud Foundry as Microsoft. But what is common in across all the women it seems like there is and Neha from LinkedIn, she has she is an active mentor at the Holberton School. And the Holberton School is a alternative coding school for men and women, of course, that did not have traditional tech careers, but found themselves wanting to have a tech role and engaging in this training so that they can, when they graduate, they can move into, highly technical roles.